after the first album, Prayers on the Wind, I was really hoping, like, oh, this is, I'm, ready to do some more music with Dean and such. And so I think I may have mentioned earlier when Scott was around, we got to do, a little bit of jamming here and there. So any opportunity that came that we could be recorded, we were recorded and such. And I love playing with Dean, and because Dean is such a great flute player. And I can't thank him enough for, wanting to play with me, because I know we did a couple things in town where you guys were at, and got invited to play with him and stuff. And also at another festival here in Bellingham, by the Rock Quarry. I remember you guys being out there. Dean was out there. It was a really nice stage, and yeah, he said, hey, let's do a song together. We did. It was really, really a lot of fun. So I think the idea came just like, hey, we should record. And I'm like, heck yeah, So that finally came to light when the new, well, not this album, but the last one came out. And I couldn't be more happy, to finally work with somebody, who wanted to play with me and had the resources to, record the music and whatnot. But in the last one, working with Scott Huckabay, because I'd met him before, and he is like outstanding guitar player and stuff. And just, the way he plays guitar is like way different than anybody else that I know. And so getting all of us together to play this music, because the concept of putting a new CD out, I thought, well, this is really cool, because I can't imagine what this is going to sound like. So through the magic of the studio here with Phil, of course, adding his part to this, and also the engineering part, has really made this thing just, I don't know, I can't put words to it, just out of sight, the way it sounds. And I was excited, and kind of like, wow, when is this thing going to come out, And so, because people were asking me, are you going to put out any more new music? And I go, well, I don't know, we'll see, and stuff. And interesting enough, people hear me sometimes at a festival, and I had a guy hit me up who has a studio over in Tolt, Washington. That's near Duval. And he said, well, I'd love to have you in my studio and stuff. And I go, well, okay, give me your card, and, I'll think about it. I said, right now I'm working kind of on something else, and I'm working with some folks and whatnot. And so I really haven't, had any really chance to work in a professional studio like, here at Sounding to the Planet. And, you guys record this kind of music. This is what you do, and all that. Because I will say that I did record in a different studio, and another friend, I like him, he's a really great guy, didn't sound quite the same. So nothing further happened after that. I just have the copies of the recordings and such. But I know because of other people you guys work with, world music, I guess I can find a name for it, world music. The way it's recorded, the sound and how it has to be and whatnot, how to record Native American flute. And so I thought, this sounds like Carlos Nakai. I mean, because I know you guys didn't you guys work with him before? You know him, or tiny bit, yeah. And that was kind of my inspiration too. I mean, I've met Carlos Nakai and all, and I've met Kevin Locke and Robert Tricotti, these people, and Charles Littleleaf. These are kind of my inspirations. But I have to say, especially Carlos Nakai, especially because I've loved his music since I first heard it. When I was a little bit younger, not a little kid, so to speak, but when I first started listening to Native Flute, when he was doing the soundtrack for How the West Was Lost, a soundtrack that's on Discovery Channel from 20 years ago, when they put this documentary out about Native American history. And it was terrible. The documentary was great, but and I learned so much from that. But the history on how Native people were treated was just terrible. There are times that it actually made me cry. And I wanted to learn the song, the intro to the documentary as well. And I did learn it. Just by listening to it. It was really the first song I learned. It had to be in the key of I think G or F sharp. And so I learned it, and I was pretty proud of myself. there were times I wanted to play it in front of people, but I found it difficult to play because then my emotions would stir up and I go, oh, I can't play this. It's too much. It's too much. But anyways, all those experiences that I've had leading up to getting to come here to the studio and putting all this music together, I hear it when I hear the playback on the new CD. It's there. It's there, and whatnot. And having Dean and Phil and Scott only make it better. That's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of this. Peace through music. That's where I find my peace. Well, the places that I go to and I play, sure, I like to do festivals, but I do mostly libraries. Libraries, thank goodness, have support for doing cultural and diverse programs. And I have found through the years that I have a more intimate audience that way, and I can reach more people with the addition of not just playing my music, but the stories that I tell to go with it. Who am I? Who is this person, who plays the Native American flute, who has Middle Eastern background, but a mother who's Indigenous as well? How did that all happen? And so I love telling that story, and it kind of helps me connect with my roots and my ancestors, because when I was much younger, didn't have a real feeling of who am I and where am I from, and just didn't have those answers. And so the music is helping me do that as well. And when one of the things I share with my audience is that when I play this wonderful, and to me, healing instrument, to me is medicine. I say, this is how I speak through here. This is also how I pray, and this is also how I cry, my emotions. Because there have been times where I'm on stage somewhere and I'm playing, I can feel all these emotions, and I start to tear up when I'm playing. And so it's been a real positive thing for me. If you want everybody to hear your music, you have to get out there. And I know I live in Bellingham and Whatcom County, and there's a lot of great musicians here, but a lot of them don't even leave the area. And for me, it's like, no, this is a thing that's important to me, to get out there and to touch as many people as I can, from Eastern Washington, which I go every year, all the way down to Oregon. I would love to do this full time, and so it's exciting to be able to do that, especially in this latter part of my life, because I didn't start playing the flute until I was probably in my later 40s. And, here I just turned 69. And, I tell everybody, oh, I've been playing the flute for 20 years. I mean, I say that every year. So, I don't know, I've kind of lost track. But anyways, I think I've gotten better with age, and even with the instruments too. They say wood gets better as time goes on. And I've had these guys for a long time. I have, some new ones here and there, but I've just gotten to a point where, like wine, when, they say when wine gets older, it gets better and stuff, where I've perfected my playing, the way I play, the style I play, and the way I move my fingers, and what's going on in my heart, in my head, as I'm transferring all this into this. And so, and how it speaks to my audience, whoever they may be. I mean, I think of myself being very also blessed because I get to work with different tribal communities, also doing flute making classes as well. Well, I used to teach flute making as an instructor at Northwest Indian College, at Tulalip, and also at Lummi. I did that for a while. It was kind of a part-time thing. But what I've been doing regularly now annually is I work with an Indian education program out of Monroe, Washington, and also Lake Stevens, Washington, with their young people and their adults. And also a non-native group, a school down in Olympia, a Waldorf school, work with their fourth graders. And so I'm able to do this because of the flute kits that are made by Stellar Flutes, who is a family-run business that I got my very first flute from so many years ago. And I've stayed friends with them, and I love those guys. I like to say, because I've met them in my life and I bought my first flute from them, that they saved my life. You sometimes have to go through something bad to get to something good. And, I tell this story wherever I'm playing my instrument, unless I'm at a festival. But at the time I was going through what I feel was a traumatic divorce. And it wasn't something of my choice. And I was living on the peninsula at that time, which would be in Kingston. And so I was separated from my then wife and my adopted daughter at that time, because she was a single mom and I adopted her daughter, and she was a small kid. And so the marriage didn't last very long. And so I found myself very depressed and really, really down in spirit. So it was a nice day like this, as a matter of fact. I walked down from the apartment I was renting, and I went to a coffee house and had coffee, and I think I was journaling too at the time. And I said, okay, I'm done here, so I'm going to walk down into town. So as I came more towards the waterfront, I could hear music, and I could see there was an art show going on. I go, okay, cool. So I kind of wandered about in the art show, and I could hear flute music going. And I go, okay, I'm going to go check this out. So I was drawn to a vendor that was there, and he had these flutes laid out on the table. There was a man and his son, and they were going, hey, yeah, you can try these. They were very nice. And I just kind of looked down and I go, oh, no, it's okay. I'm too shy, and I don't know how to play any instruments. But the man standing behind the table playing their flutes was, I didn't know who he was at the time, but it's Charles Littleleaf, who is a well-known Native American flutist. He's from the Warm Springs Reservation. I also met his really cool wife, Vicky, and so they were there kind of promoting Stellar Flutes. So I listened to the music, and I just thought, this is so great. I could really feel this in my heart. So I came back the next day, Sunday, to listen again to him, and he gave me a CD. We spoke for a little bit, and he gave me some words of encouragement. And I just thought about that for a while, and that was a very positive moment for me in a very dark time. And then I thought, maybe he'll get me one of these flutes. And so about a month later, I drove to the home of the flute maker, the Stewart family, and Tom Stewart put his flutes back out on the table, and had a decision to make. And so I picked out a flute, and I go, okay, it's going to be this one. And it was made out of Alaskan yellow cedar in the key of F sharp. So now, since I've been playing for such a long time, and most people that play the instrument say, you didn't pick that flute picked you. And that's how it started. And I would go to the park, and I would kind of figure out the notes, and I had a little book, it kind of like how to play. And this wasn't reading music per se, although you can get music for them, but I had no one show me how to play the instrument. So I kind of figured it out on my own, and just kind of where the notes are and the do's and don'ts. And I would spend my time outside at the park. But also, I found that because I lived in Kingston and would take the ferry boat back across, if you go out into the area where while you're taking your ride across the sound in the solarium, it echoed naturally, which was really great. So I'd play my flute, and you'd have this kind of effect, canyon effect, so to speak, and it was kind of cool. And so that's kind of how that started. And then from there, I got enough nerve to play at open mics. And I just didn't know if people were going to like it, but it seemed to be okay. And because otherwise, I was very shy and very introverted. And so I started doing that, and then I finally moved away from the peninsula, and I continued playing, and it just took off by meeting other people that, did native music and stuff like that, and they were very encouraging as well. So, yeah, and it was just a total positive thing after that. When I had cancer, I didn't think that should stop me from playing the instrument. Of course, I had a lot of anxiety because I had cancer and I had already had surgery and I had to do chemo. So I was kind of scared. But fortunately, at that time of my life, I was surrounded by a very loving community. And so I was being treated at Providence, which is in Everett, and it was connected with, at that time, Everett Clinic. And so I had to go to the infusion center, which was on the 3rd floor. So this was all new to me. And so all kinds of people were there. And you sit in the chemo lounge, as it's called, and you have a nice comfy chair and the ivy trees next to you. And the nurses were very attentive. And I chose not to have a port cut into my chest area, as some people do. Because I thought, well, you guys already did the surgery. I think that was kind of enough. Oh, well, we just got to find a vein. So every time I had chemo, they would have to find a vein. Sometimes they were really good at it. Sometimes not so much. It would hurt a little bit, but, I got through it okay. And so you could sit there and read books or have friends visit you, which I did. And there's all kinds of coffee and juice to drink or whatnot. And I go, this is kind of boring because my chemo was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day pretty much. Every 3 weeks, and then the second week would be 1 day for 3 hours, and then the next week would be off to let my white blood cell come back. But anyways, so I go, hey, would you guys mind if I played my flutes in here? And they said, no, it should be okay. So I brought a couple of flutes in. Actually, it was this one and this one, and sure, I would just kind of stand up and I would play my flutes, and this was very open. The whole floor was open pretty much except for the nurses' stations, and people really liked it. And plus, it let me kind of release what was going on inside of me too, and it became a really positive thing for me. And I so much so that when I was all done with my chemotherapy, I asked if I could come back because I felt, you need to give back. And so I came back to the chemo lounge, and I would go there and I would talk to everybody there. And I said, hi, everybody. I would tell them my name, and I said, I was a patient here and I made it through this. And I want you to know that you're going to make it through this. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to go, yes. And so, and I've come here to play some songs for you, and I would, and people really loved it. And so, I felt that was really a good way to give back because I felt very blessed that I had made it through cancer and getting a little bit more time on this earth. Because I thought when I would look up into the sky and I would say, Creator, I need more time. I need more time. I'm not done yet. I need to do more things like this. And so I think I'm pretty blessed. And even after that, I found myself playing in places. I did a thing for hospice and also for folks who have dementia. And being able to do that is also very fulfilling for me, knowing that I can do something for them. I'm always constantly aware of the fact that I am the son of immigrants. And I've always been aware of that sort of thing, even as a young kid, because I am different. Obviously, I have this cool tan and whatnot, but always asking questions of who am I, where am I from, where are my people? And so I felt that we were more than just what I am. Just, okay, I'm born in this country, I'm an American, okay, and my parents, I kind of know where they're from and stuff, but I didn't get the whole story, and just little bits and pieces. So I was kind of determined to find out. And so as I got older, I knew that, being half Hispanic or whatever the term is, Mexican, my mom's from Mexico, great food, a little bit of the culture as well. Have relatives in Mexico. Everybody speaks Spanish. It's the language of the colonialist. And so I thought, well, aren't we got some native ancestry? And so my mom couldn't answer the questions because she was orphaned as a young girl. And I don't know what her parents look like. They have no pictures of their parents. So my grandparents, I've never met them. And so, and my dad, on my dad's side, I got to meet his parents when we went to Morocco when I was a kid. And I thought that was interesting, even as a kid. I don't speak any Arabic because my dad's from Morocco, and he's Berber. So those are tribal people. They're indigenous as well. And I found out also trying to figure out more of where I came from is my grandfather on my dad's side was a flute player. So there's the connection there. My grandfather played a different kind of flute, though. It's called the nai. And it's an ancient flute that comes from the Middle East. I think namely more so with the pharaohs, which I apparently have a DNA connection with. And so, my father told me this finally after I played my native flutes for him, and he said, yeah, your grandfather was a flute player. Why didn't you tell me this when I was growing up? Well, he didn't think it was important. So at some point in my life, I did do the DNA test, and it said, well, you were like 19% Native American, and this is who are the tribes that you're probably affiliated with. And the report said Mayo and Pima, and these are tribes in the southern part of Mexico. And so my mom has no idea or none of that, because in Mexico, they're taught in their schools that Native people or Indians are not very smart and are dirty, and so not very nice things at all. And so they kind of grow up with that. They want kind of no connection with that. I think that's kind of changing now, which is good. But so I've tried to see a little bit about what kind of flutes that they played, if any at all, and because it is an ancient instrument. And well, doing the DNA test, I found out so much more. I have a great-grandfather from Siberia, 5 generations back. Let me see. And we have some connection to the Nordic countries. Apparently, the Vikings used to trade with the Berbers, which are my father's people. And I learned this from a guy, actually I met some years ago at Yule Fest down in Ballard. He really helped me to learn some different things. And so I also read an article about a DNA match with the Berbers and the Sami. And the Sami people, of course, are the Nordic people, the reindeer people from the Nordic countries. And so I was excited to hear about that as well. So I don't know. I'm still learning a little bit about who I am and where my ancestors are from. And all. So, yeah, I mean, it's just an ongoing process. I believe it. Definitely, I believe it. So, as far as these times go and what I'm trying to do, my music, like I said earlier, bringing light into a dark time. And so it has helped me in my dark time. I want to be able to help people in these dark times. I don't care who you are, wherever you're from. Diversity, that's so important. I'm, I think, a great example of diversity. I come from 2 different cultures, belief systems, and languages. Maybe one of them is kind of the same, Spanish, where Morocco as well were colonialized by Spain. And they went through their stuff, as well as, of course, Mexico did it by the conquistadores. And such. So I do speak Spanish. I mean, I learned it from listening to my parents talk. I don't read or write it, but that seems to be obviously the common language of the Americas. And so I meet people occasionally that are as diverse as I do, and I'm excited about that. And I like to hear their story, like where are your parents from and how did they meet and whatnot. And that's the thing I like to share too. Is like all these different people that came into play. For my mom and dad, especially my dad, who He came here to the United States when he was 14 years old. He lied about his age. His uncle helped him come to America. And I remember his uncle, my granduncle, Uncle Ahmed. He was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War, and he comes to America, and after that, because he needed to kind of get away from Morocco, and there he meets this woman that he would marry, and this woman with her family, and this was in New York. I couldn't tell you what year, but it was probably, I would say, in the 1930s. She was there with her brother and her brother's new wife and her father, and they were escaping from their country from fascism. And so I found out in the story that I was told because they were German Jew. And so not so good to be German Jew in Germany during those times when Hitler was starting to come to power. So they got out of there as soon as they could, and they ended up in New York. My dad's uncle and this lady met. Magda was her name. She was a model and an opera singer in the 1930s in Germany. They got married. They moved to California. They settled and had a chicken farm in Southern California, in San Diego, in that area. And that's where my father came. And he worked on the chicken farm. You had to pay him back. He met a Hispanic worker on that farm. They could speak Spanish. They became friends. And this man invited my father to visit his family across the border into a small border town called Tecate, Mexico. They became friends. And so my dad meets the family, and they had an adopted girl in this family. And so they did not like each other at all when they met. But after 2 years, here I am. And so they got married in Tecate. I was born after they got married. I think my mom was 18 and my dad was 21, I suppose. But pretty long time ago. And they had 3 kids. I'm the oldest. And then my dad stayed in the poultry business, and he did that for many, many years, and worked finally his way into Southern California, moved into the Inland Empire. And that's kind of what they did. They were hard workers. I learned the work ethic from my parents. I listened to my parents' music, which I didn't understand at the time. My dad listened to Arabic music, and of course I didn't understand the language. My mom listened to all the Mexican music, mariachi music and whatnot. And as a kid, I'm like, I don't like any of this stuff, but I heard it because I didn't understand it. And so, but as I got older, I became more appreciative of their music and their culture and stuff. I know I had a lot of great food because on both cultures, my mom would make this great Mexican food. My dad would cook fish and everything else on the grill and eat things most people wouldn't eat, and stuff. So I got this little bit of a blend, so to speak, which I think makes you for a pretty good person. I don't know. So I just, the usual struggles as any kid like me growing up in a world where kids can be mean. I remember getting called names and stuff, not very flattering names and stuff. And as I got older, worse. And I managed to just kind of keep it in. I didn't like it. They were very hurtful and stuff, being called these things. And I think even when I was a little kid, my mom caught me with a scrub brush trying to do this to my hand, scrubbing. She goes, "What are you doing, mijo?" And I said to my mom, I don't want to be brown anymore. I was trying to scrub it off. And she actually caught me doing that. And so my mom, in her own loving way, tried to tell me, "No, mijo," she said, no, you're beautiful, you're loved, and tried to kind of help lift me up a little bit. So it's tough being different, especially nowadays and stuff. I'm proud of my heritage and who I am, and I won't let nobody put me down and such. And I think others should be proud of their heritage as well, wherever they came from. Because this country is a melting pot of many people, many hands to make this all work and stuff. And I don't know, we should stop. We should be more caring about our neighbors and our people. There's too much negativity. And I think that's kind of, again, why I play these instruments, because of the feeling that they give people, the calm that they give people, and and then my shared story of the challenges of life that I've come across my way. Just maybe not so much just growing up, but also just the marriage not working and cancer and whatnot, and so that you can do it and you can just stand on your feet and move forward. And I don't know, just kind of my take on it. There's one time that I was playing, I think it was this flute, with my friend who's Upper Skagit. And Jay Bowen is his name. And he's an artist. He's a known artist in the Skagit County area and a good friend. And he used to have an art gallery in La Conner. And so he plays a recorder, and that's cool. He said, "Hey, let's go play out in the square out here." It was a summer day, so we're just kind of improvising because that's how I play. By the way, if I hadn't mentioned earlier, on my music, I mean, my tradition is I play from my heart. Since I don't read music, everything comes from within. So I said, "Yeah, sure." So we're out there in the square, and I'm playing this flute. He's playing his recorder. And it sounds pretty good, and, La Conner's kind of a tourist town, and that's fine, And we notice that people are looking up in the sky, and they're like, what are they looking at? So we're looking up there, too, and we're still playing. And there's a couple of eagles above us, and they're circling. I mean, they're kind of up there, but they're kind of staying up there. And as long as we played, they stayed with us. And we did play for a little while. And then we said, okay, let's take a breather. And so not shortly after that, they left. And we just thought, everybody else thought it was pretty cool how that could happen. And I knew that these would attract natural, wildlife. And so another time was, and I was playing the same flute actually. I played for a gentleman whose daughter called me up, and he was in hospice in Mount Vernon. And it was a rainy day, and she said, "Hey, my dad, he's not doing so good, and he would love to, have you come and play, a couple songs for him." And this man wasn't Native at all, and it didn't matter, and stuff. But he loved Native American culture, and so I wanted to honor that request. And here it was on that weekday evening. It was raining, and my old Subi was kind of running half-assed, and I just said, "To heck with it. I'm going to drive down from Bellingham to Skagit." And I went to the care center, and I had this flute. This is one of my favorite ones. And so his name was Jack, and I went up to him on his bedside, and I held his hand. He couldn't speak, and I said, "Jack, this is Peter. I'm here. I've come here to play you a couple of songs for the journey." And so I stood up next to the bedside. His family was gathered around him. And I played a couple of songs as best I could, and whatnot. And so I held his hand again, and I said, "Take care." And I went outside the room. His daughter came out, and I kind of cheered up a little bit. I got a little emotional because that's kind of a heavy thing to do when somebody is going through something like that in hospice. And then shortly after that, Jack passed away, and his family reached out to me again, and they said, "We're doing a celebration of life for our father. Would you please come and play for us?" And so I said, "Sure, I would be honored to." And so they were able to use this property that was in Acme, Washington, not too far. And I went to the address, and it was beautiful farmland. And some of that green grass property, beautiful, like park-like, was right by the Nooksack River. And so the family was all there, and there was another friend of mine who was invited there, and she's Cherokee, and she was there. And so she did a song she sang, Amazing Grace, in her native language. And then my turn came, and I played my flute. I played my loon flute. And in the meantime, Jack's family, they were all lined up along the river, and they were each putting his ashes in the river. And so while I was playing my flute, an eagle flew by, and really low, I mean, just right in front of us. And we were just going, wow. And so not long after that, a duck flew by. And we don't want to discount the duck. And we thought that was always a good sign, too. So that was really, really, really cool. And then the other time, I have to say, and it's kind of connection with the album, is I had a friend who wanted to do some video on me playing at the Stillaguamish River. So we made it out there on a day. It was a nice day, kind of like this. And I had some different flutes at the time. So we picked a spot not far from River Meadows Park, where the Stillaguamish used to do their powwows. And as a matter of fact, that particular park was a village site a long, long time ago. And so we went out to the river, and I started playing one of my flutes. It's this one. This guy right here, which is a woodland style flute. I played this one, and after a while, a red tail showed up, and it landed right in a tree in front of me. And I was right on the other side of the river, and it would just kind of bow its head. You know how birds look, they kind of look at you. And so it was just a perfect moment. And I looked up, and I'm just going, wow. And I played and played and played, and it would just sit there and watch me. And so when I got done playing, it stayed for just a few more seconds, and then it took off. And I felt really it meant something. It was a sign, a good sign, when these sort of things happen and all. So I think that's kind of where the idea also came from for the album, and the beautiful artwork that's also on the album as well. So, and I love red tail hawks as well. I remember finding not in a bad way, a deceased one on the highway one time years ago, and picking it up and taking it to somebody who knew about these things. And we don't know if it was hit by a car or whatever. And I was told it's okay to take something from it, take a feather or two. So I got a feather from the red tail that had been deceased. We assumed it had been hit by a car. And we took the remains to some place on the Stillaguamish River and laid it down by some rocks and left it there with some cedar branches and left it like an offering, a sage and whatnot, and left it there, probably where it came from. So it was kind of a sad moment, but we wanted to do something for the red-tailed hawk. So I don't talk about that particular story that much, but I wanted to share that with you today. So, but yeah, it's always been a real positive thing when the music itself attracts, birds, no matter what it is, eagles, hawks, even a duck. I was kind of pretty much new at, kind of playing at events, and I'd become friends with Dean Evenson, who very well known. He's Klinket, raven dancer, storyteller, musician, actor. He's done a lot of really good things, and he plays flute too. And at that same time, Swil Keenum as well, who's local to Bellingham. He's Lummi. He's a fiddle player or violinist, classical violinist, storyteller. And I knew, before I knew these two guys anyways, they were in Sherman Alexi's movie. Is it the business Fancy Dancing? And but now we've become friends, and we all three of us play once a year on the 4th of July. But at any rate, so Gene had this gig because at the time the Dalai Lama was coming through town. It was called the Seeds of Compassion tour. So Gene had gotten a gig, and I got tickets to go to the event prior to that at the arena. And I think Seattle Indian Health Board was giving tickets out, so they gave me a bunch of tickets to give out. So we went to that. We went there as spectators, and it was so cool to see the Dalai Lama and to hear him. So Gene goes, "Hey, I got this gig at the Key Arena, and I only got 20 minutes on stage. Do you want to be a part of that?" And I'm like, going, "Heck yeah!" And so I was excited. And Spokane was going to be involved as well. And there were some other folks. There's a lady who we had become very good friends with. Her name was Silver Song. And she was also a tribal member, and some other folks that were there. I think it was maybe 8 or so of us on stage. And so we came on stage. We kind of backstage kind of went through what we were going to do and say and whatnot. And so I had just one flute, and Spokane had, I think, a drummer. Maybe he had his violin. I'm not sure. And Gene was kind of doing what Gene does, storytelling and his raven dance and whatnot. So here we were at the Key Arena at the time. This is before it was renovated. And we were maybe not even 15 feet away from His Holiness and his interpreter. And I'm like, wow, and the Key Arena, I think it was Children's Day, and it was filled with a lot of young people that were there from across the state, and a lot of adults too, families. So I remember getting to play a song on my flute during one of Gene's stories, and the Dalai Lama, he was just smiling away and stuff. I know that Gene ran up to him too. We gave him Stellar Flutes gave him a flute to donate or to give to him, and he gave him a flute, and he also gave the Dalai Lama a drum to borrow, to hand drum with us. So we got to do that, and that was kind of cool. And I was kind of in awe still. I was looking up at the monitor up there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these people. Look at here we are and stuff. And that was really one of the coolest things to do. And I was so hoping to go up to him and to greet him, but there was no time. As soon as our time was up, off the stage, and then on to the next group and stuff. But that was a really cool experience for me. I remember calling my mom about it and say, hey mom, got to play for the Dalai Lama. And my mom's kind of go, well, that's nice, and stuff. But I don't know if she knew who that was. But anyways, I certainly did. And talk about peace through music right there, and all that whole auditorium full of people getting to hear what we were doing and whatnot. And I mean, that was just a huge deal. And I consider that one of the highlights of my flute playing career, so to speak. I mean, I got to do a lot of cool things, but that was really cool. That's kind of a big deal, the Dalai Lama and stuff. And then after that, I, just got braver and braver and started to kind of market myself, as you say, and, get myself out there. Because I don't have anybody do this stuff for me. I do it. I go and knock on the door or talk to the person or make the call and give them the information. This is what I do, and this is what I'd like to do. Maybe for your school or the tribe or whatever and stuff. And obviously having a little bit of time at Northwest Indian College kind of helped out as well, being able to do some programs with them. There's an organization in Kent called Unkatawa. Excuse me if I mispronounce that, but they're a Native organization. They're a nonprofit, and they're community-minded. They do a flute making class every year. They buy all the kits, and they hire me to come teach the class. And anybody can take the class. It's free to the community. So I think that's really great. I did one not too long ago for Native American veterans. And their families. So I got to go down there and work with them and teach them how to make their flutes and play their flutes. Stuff like that, kind of like doing things for the community and whatnot. And I think most recently, I did something here locally, which I rarely do locally, but a place called Amy's Place. It's in the mall, actually, and it's a place for caregivers for people who take care of people with dementia and whatnot. And so it's a charitable event. So I came there to play. So families were there, probably their loved ones that are going through this sort of thing, and I got to share my music with them and whatnot. So these kinds of things are really important to me that I get to do them, so. I work with this program in Snohomish County. It's an Indian education program. It encompasses the Monroe, Salton, and Snohomish School District. I have worked with them for quite a few years. And so of the things that I do with them is I'll play music for some of their events during the year, flute making class, and to name a few. And so what's come out of that is I've had young people that have taken the flute class, made their flute, learned how to play it, and have kept it going for themselves. Because I tell them, this is not something you put on the mantle. This is something that you must play to honor that. And so I know at least one or two students that are now adults and grown up, and they're maybe have kids or whatever. They still play their flute, and that's awesome. The other thing was there's a young woman, when she was a kid and she was in the program, I knew her mom, and her kids, this lady's, she had her kids in the program, and this one young lady went through the program, went to college, got her teaching degree, and then years later, she reached out to me. She says, I'm a teacher at the Mukilteo School District, and we're starting an Indian education program there. We'd love to have you over here. Awesome. And so I came there and I did a class with them. And then she moved and was working with the Lake Stevens Indian education program. And that started up as new. And I've gone over there now and I've worked with their kids because of this person. And so I think, that's great, because I talk about, I remember when you were just a kid, and here you are, you're grown up, and you have a family, and I can't thank her enough. The other student was when I was working or instructing at Northwest Indian College at Lummi, and his name is Andrew. He's a friend of mine. He was just there taking the class because it was a credit class because Northwest Indian College is a 4-year college. And so he really loved the class. And I had some really great students there, but he in particular really took it really well. And so not all of us stay in touch after the school, after the class. A lot of them graduate and kind of do their own thing. But I do have some friends I stay in touch with that stayed in the area. Andrew, who is also a Lummi tribal member, he's going to tech school right now, but he still plays the flute, and he's been recording, and he's been working with another friend of mine who plays guitar, and they've been doing work together. And what's really humbling is that when, and he's invited me to like his gigs, he'll say on the loudspeaker or whatever to his audience, he goes, and this guy right here, Peter Ali, he's the reason why I'm playing the flute. And he's helped me, to learn and whatnot. And so, at times I feel kind of a little bit shy about it, but, it's really, really nice of him. He recently invited me to play, earlier this year, at a friend of his that was going through cancer, and they did a fundraiser for him over on the reservation. And so they have all the families from Lummi and Swinomish there, and we played a song together and stuff. And so I feel really, like I said, moved and grateful that what I do, I can pass this down to other people. My legacy, as long as I'm alive and I'm still playing these instruments, that I will continue to do that. Because we always think about something we want to pass down. Well, I always think that what I do for the young people is passing it down to the generations that have come after me. And so, and maybe, who knows, because I know how to play flute because of Peter Ali. I met him and I took his class, and I love doing this, and maybe they'll teach other people too. That's what the hope is. Their mantra, peace through music. I love saying, for me, music from the heart, because that's what comes out of my heart. This simple instrument. And I would like to maybe end it. I don't know with saying when I tell my people. I go, what an honor it is to be able to play this, because you consider this and you look at it and you go, this was a tree. This was a tree at one time, and it was breathing. And we have this symbiotic relationship with the tree. Most people may not think about it. And of course, here in Washington State, y'all have a lot of trees, and I love that. But people might go, what do you mean? Well, you know what? What the tree breathes out, we breathe in. What we breathe out, the tree breathes in. The standing tall people. And like I said, Native people believe that their breath is sacred. We're alive. It's our essence. So what an honor it is to be able to, I can blow my breath through this tree. This was alive. And you bring it to life again by blowing your breath through this and sharing something that sounds so nice to the ears, in the heart. So my love of this, my songs from my heart, I think is connected with peace through music in a very, very good way. And so, anyways, I can't thank you. I can't thank you enough. Well, okay. So here's the music. Here's what we got. Prayers on the Wind, very, very first CD, mine professionally, anyways. Getting to play with Dean Evenson, and there's a lot of great songs on here. A lot of people love this one, and it's available. Okay, it's also available on all the streaming services. And here's On the Wings of Spirit. Here's the new one. And this is a wonderful, wonderful CD. Lots of songs. Dean and I, Scott Huckabay, and Phil. And if you come to one of my gigs, I'll have this CD. I'll have both of these. And all. And so for those of you that still have CD players in your cars, hey, get a CD, okay? I still listen to these. It's a wonderful CD. I love the artwork on here, the red-tailed hawk. It's a beautiful CD, the artwork and the cover and the inside as well. And so, but yep, here we go. And so I'm really proud of these as well, because there's a lot of heart that went into putting these together. I can't thank Sounding of the Planet enough for having me part of their family of musicians and whatnot. So thank you again, Soundings of the Planet and your family. Thank you. I want to say thank you in the way that they say thank you here. And I want to raise my hands up to you, Haishka, and say thank you, Haishka. Thank you.